This is William Tincup and Ryan Leary, and you are listening, hopefully watching, Inside the C-Suite podcast. We have Kendra on today. Kendra, how you doing?
I'm doing well, William. Thank you. How are you,
Good.
gentlemen?
I'm doing well. Ryan, how are you doing?
Fantastic. I'm good,
Good.
man. We're back from a long week
A
of
lot of travel.
travel. A
Yeah.
Welcome
lot of
back.
travel, a lot of flights. Yeah, delayed flights. The whole bit. But we're back and we're ready to roll.
Let's
I
go.
dropped I dropped Ryan off at the airport yesterday at like 15 minutes before the flight was taken off.
Hey, it's
It was
doable.
like 30 minutes. It was like 30.
It's
And
doable.
and then I didn't look at my phone. I'm like, I hope it worked out.
Meanwhile, my camera's in his car. That's where it's at.
Not joking, by the way. Not joking. So, Kendra, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you doing these days?
So I've been keeping myself busy. I just accepted a new role with Advanced Partners, leading our strategic partnerships program, building it actually, which
Right.
I'm really, really excited about. My inner artist and inner nerd loves creating and building. And so working with Advanced Partners to launch that program and leading women of color in staffing along with Delibra Wesley to
Right.
just continue to uplift women of color and just get our industry out there as really a viable choice for women of color. And continue to work with my fellow co-authors from Together We Rise. And we're starting on a second book. So working with the
Wow.
publisher to make that happen.
I love that. So first of all, Advanced Partners, what do you do?
Oh
What
my
does the
goodness.
company do?
Yeah, so Advanced Partners, what was so appealing about this opportunity to me is that it really champions next level staffing firms growth. So whether it's
Right.
through payroll funding, whether it's through back office solutions, strategic business coaching, they're just 100% dedicated to the staffing industry. And so I'm really passionate about putting people to work. I'm passionate about the power of people. And in order to do that, we need to have the funding so that we can have that confidence to say yes to those real opportunities that firms have.
In your position in strategic partnerships, what type of partnerships are you looking for? What's the goal there?
Oh my goodness, the goal is just one, to enhance Advanced Partners product and service offering, right? That's one. We really want to uplevel the client experience, and I want to just bring together a kind of diverse and innovative set of partners that can answer questions and provide solutions for whatever our clients are facing. That is definitely the goal. And to help up level our industry again, to be, so folks understand that we really are a vital contributor to the economy.
So let's go backwards.
All right.
What did you in high school ish? What did you want to be? What was the dream?
Oh, well, I always wanted to be an interior designer and
Ah,
and a news anchor. Those were my two. And I was convinced I was going to do both of them at the same time because
oh
why
yeah, of
not?
course. Yeah.
Well, I need an interior designer.
Yes, he
So
does.
Yes.
feel free to take a
Right.
snapshot and tell me what to do here.
Yes,
looks-
absolutely. You send me the space and I will send suggestions.
He looks
Oh,
like he's in an interrogation room. That's what I
I am. I am
Full
basically
wit
in
set
an
program.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's actually
that's
funny. I'm going to use that now.
it's so true.
I'm
It is
sorry,
so
what?
true, Kendra.
How's
Oh.
Witsat? How you doing? You okay?
But
Good.
I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to send you a photo, and we'll hold
Yes.
you to this.
Yes.
We're not publishing this until you send me a design. How about
No. So interior design, and that came first,
Yes, that came first. Always an artist. I still paint.
right?
I still have friends send me photos and ask for advice, or call me, FaceTime me from Crate and Barrel because they need help on picking a sofa. So it's just a passion of mine that I continue
Yeah.
to love. And I even went back and got my associates probably 10, 15 years ago so I could understand why I loved it. I'm
Right.
a big believer of like understanding and knowing your why, and it took me years to understand that that's what it was. But I paid thousands of dollars to understand that. No
Yeah.
regrets there. And then and being a news anchor, I just thought that it was such a glamorous role, and that we were seeing more and more women. I'm in my mid 40s, so seeing more and more women on the television screen and in their power suits and talking about the problems and issues that the world is facing. I wanted to be a part of that and try to make a difference.
Did you make it to TV? Were you on TV
I
as a reporter or anchor?
No, actually, I studied journalism all through school, and the closest I made it to television was on HGTV for a single episode of a competition show.
Oh, you gotta tell us about that. Come on,
Oh
You
no.
can't you can't just drop. I was on
you
a
can't.
competition show.
No, it was called White Room Challenge, and we had to design. We didn't know what we were signing up for, and that
Right,
day we discovered we had to design rooms around candy. I think Hershey sponsored it or something.
right.
And yes, and so yeah, we each designed a room, and I was really proud of my design. I didn't win, but it was an exciting experience for sure. No
Those
news
thi-
anchor for me.
those things are rigged. You know how it is.
Yeah,
Those
you
things are
know.
completely rigged.
No, no, the fellow that won did an amazing job. So
That's hilarious. Have you found the episode on YouTube or anything like that?
no, but one of my mentees did, and then shared it
See,
with
now
us.
now I'm gonna have to go look.
I
We're gonna
didn't
have
know
to go
it was
look.
out in the ether. I thought it just lived on a DVD. That's how long ago it was.
Nope,
Um,
nope, nope,
Oh,
nope.
everything is
yeah.
out there. So okay, so walk us through this. So you wanted to interior design, you wanted to be a TV anchor, news anchor. Where did you go from here when you realized, oh, I'm not gonna make it as an anchor? Where did you go?
Well, I hadn't even decided that. I just wasn't sure if the environment was for me.
Right.
And just as it sounded good when I was 18, and as I got into my early 20s, I just realized that maybe I wasn't cut out for that environment. And so
Right.
I wanted to continue to learn, and I wanted to get my MBA. So that was my next decision. And I remember calling my dad all excited. I had a list of 3 or 4 schools I was going to apply to. And his
100%.
response, and again, my father was the best cheerleader. Definitely not a dream killer in any sense of the word. But when I said this, he said, baby, do you have MBA money?
Yeah.
No, I do not. And so I
Daddy, that's
realized,
why I'm calling you.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
right. So no, that's what I realized. I was best just getting a gig in business and learning business that way, which I
Right.
did, and I'm so glad I did. Yeah.
What was the first gig out of college?
So, oh gosh, my first role out of college was for a PR firm. Hated
That
it.
makes sense. Yeah.
And hated it and wanted to work more directly with people versus brands.
Right.
Figured that out pretty quickly. And then I got into M&A work. I had moved to Chicago, thought I had a job, didn't. This is not a story for this podcast. We can talk about that offline. Did not have a job. And then turned around and
But hold on. Yeah, you can't just drop that. You thought you had a job? Like lit?
thought I had a
Like
job.
you
I
thought you had a
literally,
job?
moving truck was pulling out of the driveway.
Have a
I
job.
Just
did-
like an interview with the
no.
Nigerian prince, and then you got there and they weren't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that would be
That would
actually
be. Where did you do your PR stint? Did you do it?
in Cleveland. Yeah, I was in Cleveland. So I lived at home for just under a year to save money. I knew I wanted to move to Chicago. That was decided. So I saved money. Thought, I probably had 3 or 4 grand in the bank, and you couldn't tell me anything. I thought I was ready
No,
for the real
trust me.
world.
I got the same. Yeah, I got the same
Uh-huh.
bid. Now, because I did internships at Liggett Stash Shower, Wise Advertising, and I actually did an internship at Ogilvy and Gray. I think it was Gray Advertising at the
Yeah,
time. So, was it a boutique or was it fully integrated?
it was fully integrated.
Interesting. We might know some of the same people.
We probably do. Yeah.
Interesting. It's small. I mean, it's a big
It's a sm-
it's a big city, but it's a small advertising and PR community.
Agreed.
And
So,
I hated PR, but for different reasons. Only I couldn't pull the levers. Like when it worked and you got above the fold in the Wall Street Journal,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
It was life changing.
yep.
But I couldn't make that. I couldn't make that happen. Like I could put up a billboard,
Yep.
but I couldn't. That's the frustrating part for me in PR is I couldn't actually make the levers work. So it was frustrating. So anyhow, I got out for that reasons. So
Yeah.
I understand that bit. So
Yep. I tried it though.
You tried it. You're in Chicago. You think you have a job. You don't have a job. Now what?
So now I go take a Smile and Dial sales role for a boutique M&A firm.
Yep.
And they really did valuation work. It was really their gig. And I was terrible at it. I was terrible at it. But I knew that across the hall, they had two sections, right? The cross on the other side of the building, that they had the valuation team. And they had editors. You know what I mean? I was
Right.
sniffing around, understanding how the business was built. And so I kept striking up conversations with folks by the bathroom and the kitchen because that was the only space we shared.
Right.
And was able to have someone interview me and take a chance on me and let me come on as an editor. And so I started business writing. And that is where my career really began. Actually, my career began when I realized I was terrible at smiling and dialing.
I think
Scripts are
most
not my
people
thing.
are. Yeah, I think most
It's a-
people don't like that.
That's all rejection management. That's the people that are
Yeah.
really good at consuming rejection.
Yeah. Well,
Those are the people.
22-year-old me was not really good.
Yeah. So, okay, so this is where
Fair.
the career kind of shot off. So before we go forward there, I want to go back a little bit to when you called your father. So you said, I want to go get an MBA. Right?
Yeah.
So before we get to the good part of everything, how did you handle that? So you're kind of like, okay, my
Yeah, this is the
idea,
next step.
no good. Like, how do you process that? Because I'm sure a lot of people that are listening now may or may not be going into, but we do have somewhat of
Oh,
a younger demographic that listen to this, and I think curiosity on their part would be, should I invest in an MBA or should I just go forward and get experience? So maybe talk about that a little bit.
I think there's no right answer there. I also am incredibly grateful that I went and got life experience because I was working at that firm, the doors closed, and I went and started interviewing. And next thing I know, I was helping build a business. I would have never had that opportunity.
Right.
I would have been reading and learning and researching about building a business had I not just, knocked on doors and took a step forward. So, again, no right answer. I still daydream at times, like, oh, maybe I'll go back or do one of those executive programs,
Yep.
something like that, which is always an option. And so, I say if you're in your 20s, just go out there and figure shit out. You
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
go back
100%.
and, add more education.
You've
Yeah.
got a
100%.
lot of time.
Yeah,
You've got a
you-
lot of time in your 20s to make a decision.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What were the 3 or 4 schools? Who were you looking at?
Oh my goodness, I was looking at Kellogg. I was
Yeah.
looking at DePaul. Again,
Yep.
I knew I wanted to be in Chicago.
Yep.
And Loyola. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You wanted to be
Yeah.
in Chicago, so
I wanted to be in Chicago, so it was very straightforward.
Right.
I originally, when I was younger, I thought I wanted to move to New York. And I love New York. For my New Yorkers out there, I visit a couple times a year.
Right.
It would have eaten me up, swallowed me
Oh, yeah.
whole.
Same-
This
same
little
thing.
girl from Ohio. Yeah, it wasn't. I'm so glad I landed in Chicago.
Yeah. And Chicago
It's still a tough city.
It is a tough city as well. That's fantastic. So business writing was easy for you
It was.
because of your journalism degree. You learned how to write fast.
Yeah, it was. And it was easy in a sense, too, that the CEOs that I was talking to and interviewing for the valuation reports, they didn't know they were talking to a 22, 23-year-old little black girl.
Right.
They had
Right,
no
right, right.
idea because this is before LinkedIn or social media. So I have great phone voice. I was able to execute on those interviews, and I was really effective in that role. What I wasn't so great at was when I earned a promotion and was now senior editor and had a small team. It was like another writer and 2 analysts, and that I wasn't so great at management. I had to figure that out. Thankfully, my team loved me because I was fiercely protective of them and their time. And so as far as our bosses went, I was always representing them and sticking up for them and, passionate about it. So I had that going for me, but I didn't understand how to bring the best out of the people that I was leading. And I had to learn that. I really had to learn that. I wanted people to do things the way I wanted them done. Because I thought my way made the most sense. And sometimes it still does make the most sense, but that's not the point.
In your mind, it always makes the most sense.
No, sometimes.
I see. I tell this to William all the time. Like, why don't you understand what I'm saying? And he just he gives me the look, and I'm like,
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
I
I'm
don't,
just gonna stop talking at
I
this
don't
moment.
understand the words coming out of your mouth.
Yep.
Yeah, but this is actually a real challenge that
Yeah.
we have a lot of conversations about this, Kendra, where uh, the I guess battlefield promotions, or you do really really well, you get
Mm-hmm.
promoted, but you're not always going to translate into a great manager of people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they kind of because it's
Exactly.
kind of what you were experiencing, and so I think some of the challenges, well, a lot of the challenges people face is how do I learn? What do I
Yeah.
do? Right. So how did you do that? How did you learn? What did you do? What position did you put yourself in to get better at this?
Well, before I knew what the term 360 was, I don't even know if it existed then. I had an issue with one of my people, and I sat down and asked them for feedback. And he was a little bashful about it at first. And I said,
Because
"Well,
you
how about
wanted because you wanted to give him feedback.
no, no, no. I just could tell he was frustrated, and I'm like, he's my top performer. This was an
Hmm.
incredible analyst,
Okay.
See,
and
I,
so
I I
I'm
thought
like,
she was looking for a way to get rid of him.
100%.
She's just like, oh, that's it
100%.
right there. That's the reason.
no,
Give me feedback so that you open
no,
that door. I'm gonna give you a fire
uh,
hose.
no, that was not it at all.
Okay.
Hmm.
So
Tell us your
asked him for
version.
feedback, and he was very bashful at first. And so I said, how about you just give me 3 pieces of feedback in an email, and I'll ask everyone else to do the same. So that way he didn't feel like it was just him.
Right,
And
right,
I
right,
and I
right.
I still wonder some days if they had a little meeting after work
Oh,
that day over a beer, like
100%.
100%.
let's tell her some things.
Hmm.
And it was wonderful because there was a pattern, and it was so fixable. It was
Right,
so fixable. And I remember one of the things was that I didn't let them think things through themselves.
right,
I would feel like you give us some autonomy, and then you start what is it called, nitpicking, or
right.
yeah,
Micromanaging.
micromanaging. Thank you.
Yep.
And it was true. I'm a very particular person, especially when I was younger. Grief and things have helped me expand my perception about
100%.
control. But at that time, I felt like I was helping and not realizing I was preventing them from putting their ideas out there or growing. And I wanted that. And so that one really stuck with me. It still does, because I realized that I also was micromanaging my own life, and I took that inward and started
Oof.
applying it there too.
Like personal life stuff?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep.
Got it.
And so I was like, I have to release some of this need for that control.
Right.
And my father had a sermon that you can't accept your blessings when you're just holding on tight to what you think you have or what you need, but you got to let it go so you can get those blessings. And
Right.
I remember calling him on the way home from work, and I cried a little bit. Like I could be cool about
Yeah.
it 20 something years later, but I
Yeah.
cried a little bit, and I was like, I think they hate me. And he's like, let's talk through the feedback you got again. And that's what he said. He's like, I think you have an amazing team, Kendra. It sounds like you really care. They know you care. And now you know what they're asking from you. So if you just let go, maybe the blessings will double. And he was right. Like, I watched them flourish and I also had to accept that we were doing so well. My top analysts moved on to a
Right.
bigger, better firm.
That's right.
And I, was really proud of that in retrospect, right? At first it was so scary, but I was
Well,
super, super proud of that.
some managers are. They want to keep that talent,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They
You
want to keep
can't,
that. They want to keep
yeah,
that talent. But you really, the great managers, great leaders, they want them to go on, go
so
do
true.
great things. And you know what? If our paths cross again, great. If they
And they
don't,
might.
yeah,
They very well might.
they very well might.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fantastic. It's the conversations that we have around individual contributors, especially the best ones, transitioning into leadership. It's usually wrought with peril, mostly based on training.
yeah.
Like the company doesn't step
Coaching.
in and go, yeah, coaching.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, mentoring, coaching. People don't step in and go, hey, listen, you're about to go through a transition from caterpillar to butterfly. By the way, you've never flown before. So let us
Yeah,
put these things in order so that you are surrounded with people that have led and they can help you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
So you didn't have that.
No,
It
Was
was
there
just a
a
guess,
sense
by
of
the way.
no, no.
yeah, it
Good
didn't seem
guess.
like
Good guess.
was there a sense of I have to prove myself? I'm a woman of
Oh,
color. I'm stepping up
Yes.
now. All eyes are on me.
Yes, I had a sense of trying to be one of the fellas. I actually just shared a story about this recently because I think a lot of young women do this, like this desire to fit in
Right.
and be one of the guys. And that's, you can interpret that any kind of way. But for me, it was being super assertive, wearing black suit jackets every day and um, making sure my voice was heard
Right.
and all of those things. And those are important. Just being assertive, making sure your voice is heard. The suit jacket's not so much. But I really had to embrace who I was. And that was tough,
Yeah.
especially when you're young and you're figuring out who the hell you are anyway.
Right.
But I'm definitely grateful for that experience. That
It's
one right there, I learned a lot. I learned a lot more that first year as senior editor than I would have in an MBA. I'm convinced of that.
oh, 100%. I
Probably true.
No, 100% true. As an MBA, I can tell you, 100%. I learned most. Ryan knows this. I learned most of what I know about business through. I worked for Sam Walton
Oh,
for a
wow.
number of
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and so I learned more about business there. Like I didn't need to go to business school, especially I had already had a master's degree, so business school was just an additional master's degree. I didn't need it. I felt like I needed it, but once I got into business, I'm like, "Pff, this is easy.
It goes back
So
to Ryan's question, though, having that need to prove, like having something to
that's right,
prove. It's like,
100%.
oh, yeah, that just makes sense. But
Well,
actually, yeah.
well, and guys don't have that. Guys don't have that. They're like come out of the womb already aggressive and already feeling like their voice is going to be heard. So they don't run into that. Most men, at least in business, they don't run in. They have other challenges clearly, but they don't have that challenge.
No, they definitely do not.
It's like
So,
the world's served on a platter. It's like
yes, exactly.
especially white men. But anyhow,
Yeah.
served
No,
on a
it's true.
platter.
It's why
It's
you
like
have to find the great ones to work with that don't
yeah,
have the ego behind it, right?
100%.
What was that
So
moment for you?
What
Where
was
you
what moment?
real the moment when you realized, yeah, I actually do belong here.
That's a great question. It was
yeah,
so our doors were closed. I was interviewing for another business writing role, and one of my analysts was as well. And we had a conversation, and I was like, we should go do this, what we were doing with another firm, a more reputable firm, a more reputable name. And that's how I
right,
got to meet like Richard Houlihan and start working with them. And there were 5 of us, I think, to start. And a year and a half or so later, we threw our first holiday party, and there were over 50 people there. I think it's over 60, but I want to make sure I'm more accurate.
yeah.
And my feet hurt. I had kicked my shoes off, and I was sitting on top of the table. I had a glass of champagne in my hand, and I was like, "Mama, I made it. I made it." And I was only 25. Like it was like but that's when because I knew I had helped and made all of these people have a different career path or a different opportunity than they would have ever had we not opened those doors. And so that is when I felt like I had done the thing. It was years later that I realized that there's so much more than that.
Right.
And so Ryan, fast forward, I think really understanding the power of community and the power of connecting with other women, and especially other women of color, that's really helped me mature and grow in my 40s in ways that I didn't even know I could experience. So, yeah.
Is it was it at the beginning? Was it just shared stories?
Yeah.
Say like
Yeah. At
what you've
first.
been through, what someone else has been through. It's like well, we've been through the same shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
And
is
I'm
it?
big on that. I think that
Yeah,
when we share our stories, at work, outside of work, it gives folks an opportunity to see you, to feel empathy, right? To feel empathetic
100%.
toward whatever you've experienced. And if they've experienced something similar or could at least relate, it gives you an opportunity to have a real connection.
Right.
And through that connection, we can actually influence. And I think it's really important for women leaders to understand that leadership doesn't always come through authority, a lot of it can come through influence. The fellas too, definitely the fellas too,
Right.
and really connecting with your people and your clients and having those conversations. So,
Yeah.
That's been the last 10 years though. I had a lot of bumpy roads before that.
Last time I was in New York, I met through a friend. I met Minda Harts, and she's an author in the space.
Oh, okay.
I think she's three time, maybe four books in,
Oh, wow.
and she talks about this very thing.
Oh,
And
wow.
it
Yeah,
was,
thank you for sharing.
yeah, no,
Gotta look her up.
yeah, she's worthy. I think she's actually got one of her books that's going to be made into a TV show or a movie or something like that.
It's
So,
incredible.
yeah,
Yeah,
very
thank
cool.
you.
Yeah. So let's talk about what came after the next stage in your career.
So I was building a business,
Yeah.
and the oh gosh, this one was building a business and decided to go back to school. I was doing well enough that I decided I was going to go to school for interior design and stay on as a consultant. I did that. Even lived in London for a year. I was married and we lived in London for a year and experienced trying to open office there and expand the business there and all of the failures and wins that
Yeah.
come with that. And the market was just getting worse and worse. And so I said, all right, I'm going to go find another full-time role. And it ended up being in corporate law. And I was like, I had to beg for the role, frankly. And
Right.
Jack Cummins, rest in peace, one of the top contract attorneys in Chicago, he was wanting to hire a receptionist. But once I got in there for the interview, I saw that he needed a lot more than a receptionist. And he said this, he would always say this. And so we made a deal. If he gave me a chance, and in 6 months he felt like he could continue operating without me, then so be it. Otherwise, you're going to have to, damn near double my pay. And he's an attorney and a contract win. So that 6 months turned to almost a year, but he made good on his promise. And I began managing a lot of our clients. And it was a wild time for me. I had just gotten a divorce. I had lost my father all in that year, lost my father and got a divorce within 6 months. And it was a really low point. So just being able to hyper focus
Right.
on this new opportunity and still having design clients, right? Had just finished design school, so I was doing that on the sides on the weekend, and I just kind of buried myself into
Right.
those things. I was on HGTV during that time. I mean, it seemed like everything was going really well, but inside I was a mess. And I worked there, started seeing these kids come in, literally kids in my book,
Yeah.
with Ferragamo loafers and $500,000 contracts. And
Mm.
I'm like, I like Ferragamo, and I haven't seen contracts like this cross Jack's desk before now. What are they all doing? And the thing they had in common was software. And I was like, I'm there. And then some of these other kids, yep. These other kids are walking in trying to sell us on new software. And yeah, law firms they know, I'm not going to hurt anyone's feelings here. They know they're a bit of dinosaurs and slow to
Right.
move.
Right.
And so I realized like I could stay here with my suits or I could go figure out what these kids were talking about. And I was 31, but when you're 31, you feel like you're so grown and this is a huge risk and you don't understand that you have the time
Mm-hmm.
to make that pivot. And I did. And I did. Yeah. And that was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. It was.
Where
Yeah.
where did you pivot to?
So I took a role. I had applied for an editor role for a procurement tech research analyst firm. And they had a startup mentality, Chicago based. And I thought, I'll just get in and learn about it through writing about it. And then my third interview was with the CEO, and he started asking me more about my experience. And he's like, you know what? I think you should be a client manager. I was like, okay. I still didn't even understand that I had a pattern at this point. I did not realize, okay, working with executive level clients is my sweet spot. I just wanted to get into software, and whatever you think, Mr. CEO. And that's where I discovered contingent workforce because they had just hired an analyst to cover it. It was new in the sense
Right.
of, yeah, we need someone covering this full time as part of procurement. And I didn't even know
Smart.
what contingent workforce meant.
And Fieldglass was
Yeah.
based in Chicago.
Yeah. I still
So
have a couple dear friends from Field Glass. Yeah. So I did that. Didn't know how to use a MacBook.
I still don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're definitely ahead of us.
I'm just
Wow.
Oh, no.
saying.
No,
Yeah.
trust me, it's the way. And yeah, and I remember my first meeting. At 31, I was, if not the one of the oldest folks around the table, right?
Right.
Other than the senior leadership. And I remember I pulled out my notebook. I was ready. I'm like, all
Oh
right,
yeah.
let's get into it. And I look around and everyone just has Google Docs up. I didn't even
I was
know
gonna
that
say
you could
you're
do
at a
that.
tech company.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could do that. I'm like, wait, I can write in the same document you could write in? This is crazy. I'm telling you, it was a huge leap. I
You're,
was up late every night
Oh
trying to
my
figure it out.
goodness. So you whipped out your legal pad, flipped over the
Yes.
page.
yeah.
Yes.
They're looking at you like,
Yeah.
what?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly
Wow.
how they were looking at
I'll
me.
fax you my notes after the meeting. It's all good.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It,
Yeah, so
it's
that was
it,
that.
it's fascinating that the CEO saw that in you. I mean, you've done it at the law firm, so
Yeah.
it makes sense, right? It tracks
Yeah,
that you could interact with clients. You could obviously take care of them and kind of be intuitive around what they needed then, but what they were going to need later. But it's so easy because by that time that he was a third, fourth interview, whatever, the team had already had you slotted for something else.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
he
he's, yeah,
basically said, no, she's better. She'll be better once
yeah,
she understands what we do and all the other stuff. She'll be better over here.
yes. And he was running a long play on me because
That's right.
he tricked me into sales. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. That's like what a good leader does, right? They see
That's right.
something and they
Hmm.
kind of lead you there gently. It was
Hmm.
like, you know what? And he could tell I was passionate about clients, William. He knew that. He let me run with that for about 6 months. And
100%.
then it was a small renewal. It was time for like a small program renewal. And he said, I think you should take the lead on this
100%.
because you know the client best.
That's right.
I'm like, I sure do. I'll take it. Next thing I know, I'm in sales.
If he would have thrown you in sales,
Oh, I
you
would have
would.
hated it.
Yep.
Failed miserably. I
Right.
would have failed miserably. I had the wrong attitude about it. I didn't understand what sales actually is
Right.
because of my smile and dial experience.
Right.
That's all I had to lean on, right? And so,
But this is more relationship based.
yes.
And so
And
you're having a
yeah,
relationship with the person and taking care of them and take care of their
exactly.
needs, etc. It's it's not sales. I mean, it is sales, but it's just extending the relationship. And if you have a good
Exactly right.
relationship with a client, it's not even a thing.
Yeah, no, this is so true. So true. So,
Genius. What a
yeah,
genius.
yeah. Yep.
What'd
I'm
you do?
grateful for him for that.
What'd you do after that?
So I was working there maybe a year and a half or so. And again, startup mentality. I was wanting to negotiate. This is for all my young folks out there. I wanted to negotiate my salary and was told to give them another year. And so, wanting to be good on my word, I said, okay. And because I saw the growth, I saw the potential, I saw how I was growing this client base
Right.
around just contingent workforce. So I said, all right. And about 4 or 5 months into that year, one of my former clients, she had moved on to Bullhorn. And
Yeah, of course.
I bumped into her at a conference and I thought she was just being nice. I always tease her about this. She was inviting me to these dinners and to this private event. I'm just like, this is so thoughtful of her. This is only my second conference. And lo and behold, I didn't know she had asked her personal board of directors. She asked 2 or 3 people she really trusted, hey, I want you to talk with her because I'm thinking about giving her a job offer.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's another lesson learned. Like you just never know. And so I used to think about it as always being on, but that's not it because on isn't
Mm-mm.
genuine and like it's not as authentic. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's just really being present.
Right.
And so that was my favorite conference. One to this date is still one of my favorite conferences. And
Which one was it? Was it?
it
Yeah,
it
go
was
ahead.
VMSA Live
Yeah,
actually.
of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's small, intimate, but that experience with her, with meeting everyone, it was just exhilarating. I like usually I'd only been to one before this, and so that one I was probably just a nervous wreck and trying to meet with as many clients as I could. This was a different experience for me. And the last day, she made me an offer. And because we had a great friendship, a great relationship with her as a client, we weren't friends yet. We got there, but we weren't friends yet. But she'd been a client. There was trust. And so when she made the offer, I trusted her enough to tell her, I don't know, because I gave them my word that I would
Right.
wait it out a year.
Right.
And she leaned across the table and she said, "Don't be stupid. This is."
I was gonna go
You want
back, but
friends like
you're
that. You
here.
want
You're
friends like
here.
that.
Yeah.
You
You
do.
want
Yeah.
friends like that.
You do.
Yeah.
She was like, "Don't be stupid. These type of opportunities do not come around
That's right.
every day."
Yeah.
And
She's
I
right.
had to make a tough decision for me at that time. I'm a person of principle, so it was
Yeah.
tough to go back and tell them, "Thank you for thanks for the ride and the experience, but I'm going to take this chance and go over here and join Bullhorn and actually work for a software company."
Yeah. So
Wow. And
Kendra, two things
yeah,
here.
go ahead.
Sorry, William. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. You got it.
All right. So two things here. One, there's two stories here that I want to kind of dig into. One is the fact that they asked you to wait for a year. Right. I've done that before myself. I've gotten that
Yeah.
same answer, and it's like a pin to the head. Like you're deflated, right? And you start counting down the 12 months, and something comes in between those 12 months, which it did. I was going to ask you about that, which it did. Now you're in a situation where you need to make a decision, right? So I want to talk about that a little bit and what that company that you were with previously maybe could have done better for you, because I think this is a situation a lot of people are in. But secondly,
Give you
you
the raise?
you said well, yeah, that would probably make sense, right? Like, well, but
I have the answer.
I mean, that's a good answer. I agree. I agree. I
Indeed.
agree. Yeah, but then you said you
Pay you what
always
you're
thought it
worth?
was,
Uh-oh.
you thought it was about being on all the time, and I say that all the time. It's like, oh, we got to be on. We're at the event. We got to be on. Like, maybe talk about the difference between being on and authentic in your mind on kind of what that means to you, because I think a lot of people say that I've got to be on,
Yeah.
and I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think they mean it in a bad way,
No,
but
no,
I
not at
think
all.
it does bite them in the ass a little bit, and they don't realize that.
Yeah, it's that focus, right, of external factors, of making sure I say the right thing, make sure that I talk to the right people, make sure that I'm paying attention, and if someone needs something, I'm able to dive in right then and there. It's all, comes with good intention, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to represent yourself, you want to represent your company well, and so it's that idea of just making sure I am together.
Yeah.
That's not the human experience, and so
Is that
if
is that pressure? I mean, self-inflicted, right? Is that pressure? Do you see that more when women or when in women of color? Do you see that like as some type of theme that goes through? Because like as you're speaking, I'm ticking off the box that I do none of that.
But you're
Z-
also your own character, right, William?
What?
You're your there. So there are plenty of young men out there, plenty of grown men out there, who before a client meeting or a sales meeting, they think they need to be on.
Wow.
They have to make sure they say the right thing. They practice their lines. They make sure they're prepared. They want to impress the client instead of being present. Because
Fascinating.
when you are present, you can that's when your intuition and your years of experience can kind of take over,
Right.
and you can trust that you know what's happening in front of you in the moment. So that way, if you need to pivot that sales conversation or you need to completely go down a different route of questioning, you're ready to do that because you caught something. And it's a muscle. Like, you have to practice
Right.
that. I'm always talking about the power of the pause. You can tell I talk 100 miles an hour, and I think even faster. And I've really had to work on that, because if I don't make that pause and get my thoughts together or think about what's happening right in front of me, I can totally miss the mark. And I really think that that's a big difference between being on and being present.
I love that. I love all of that. So I got to ask you about before we close up everything, about your book. Tell me how that came to be.
Yes, well, it's because, well, I was hosting a CEO dinner at was going to be Exec Forum 2020, and I looked at the invite list, and it was 25 people, and there were maybe three or four female executives. And at this point, I had recently been promoted and was now reporting directly to our VP. And it was the first time I told him I was going to do something instead of asking. Like, I
Right.
didn't run it by him. I just said, hey, I'm going to invite Leslie Vickery of Clear Edge Marketing
Yep.
and two other female executives to this dinner. And he, rightfully so, was like, okay, Kendra, but this is just supposed to be for our clients. I said, I understand that, but look at this list. And we want more diverse representation. It's going to make it a better experience for everyone. And he gave me the green light. I would nervously, text her, say, could you give me a call when you get a chance? Because we didn't have a really close relationship at the time. And she gave me a shout, and I invited her to the dinner, and her response was, are you sure, like, you got the okay on this? I said, well, I wouldn't be on your line if I didn't get the okay. And a day later, she called me and invited me to a dinner that she was planning for a few women to celebrate Joyce Russell's book, Cherry on Top. I was thrilled. I was so excited. I hadn't had much time, one-on-one time socially with a lot of these women. And
Right.
so I couldn't wait. And then the world shut down, and we decided Leslie decided that we would still do a Zoom call. And it was an incredibly powerful hour. We spent some time absolutely celebrating Joyce and her book. We spent a good chunk of the rest of the time navigating what these new waters, right? These were all C-suite women and me, and uh, even having them text me or start calling me about what I was doing to help with the culture with our sales enterprise team and things like that, like building that trust and understanding that I had value to bring to this group in such a strange time in all of our careers and our lives, was really, really powerful for me personally. And we decided to keep meeting, and let's meet every month. And then it's like, we should invite some authors or just mix it up a bit as time went on. And maybe 6 months in, an author came on and told us about the power of telling your story. That was what her book was about. And she said, you ladies should do that. And we're like, oh, okay. Like, I thought we were just being polite, frankly. I did not think we were actually going to sit down and write a book. I'll tell you that much. And that is how it came to be. And so it was incredible. I mean, we've raised thousands of dollars for ASA's women leadership scholarships. We've made a difference in the industry. And I've been able to speak in so many events. Like, my proudest moment ever was doing the keynote at the ASA Staffing World in 2022. I was able to do that because of this experience and because I trusted these women enough to create something and put it out into the ether with them. So I'm very, very proud of that. And even though my dad used to ask me what happened to me being on TV, I just have this feeling in my heart that he is incredibly proud of that too. Yeah. And any group of people could do it. Any group of women could do this, right? We've had 2 different sets of women in other countries say that they're doing something similar now. And I think it's incredible because when we tell our story, when we have opportunities like this to sit with the Ryans and Williams of the world who are giving us a platform, when we tell this story, we're able to really connect and help, uplift others who are going through similar experiences that we've already persevered through.
100%. Drops mic, walks off stage. Ryan, did you have anything else? I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm good. Kendra, thoroughly enjoyed
You
the
too.
conversation. I just kind of was hoping I got on TV story at the end.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
Ryan,
we've got you on video,
she's
so
got
does
plenty
that
of
count?
time.
Yeah, I'm on
Do you,
YouTube.
do you want to
She's got plenty of time.
do you want to take us out? Like, do you want to say toss it back to
Yeah.
William? I mean, you can do
There you
that.
go.
Sure. I don't know how to do that, though.
No, no, no. I took a class on it. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Back to you, Jim.
Back to you, Jim. No, thank you, gentlemen, so much. This was so much fun.
100%.
Thank you for, helping me with my nerves last night, those late night jitters. This was a lot of fun. I could talk to you guys all day. So,
Well, thank you for coming on this show. Thanks for the audience for listening, and we appreciate you.